Every property manager I've ever worked with remembers exactly one thing about a bad leak.
The leak?
No, who picked up the phone? Coming up today, what actually earns a property manager's trust and what kills it.
And I am feeling so excited here today. Feeling very grateful having this conversation. Grateful for the team at Division 7. Grateful for the industry. Grateful for my family. And God for bringing me to this glorious day. Steve Reiss is going to pick up the mic here today. He's going to speak about our faith, clients, technology, industry, our employees. Everything about it's been exciting, creative, intentional. We're going to make it exciting and interesting week after week. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, nobody hires a roofer for the brochure. No, they hire for the phone call at 6 a.m. The update before they have to ask the person who owns the mess and cleans it up today. What property managers actually remember about the people they call. Live on the tie-in. Steve, Keith, we are here in the lab this morning. We are back up. Steve, Keith, Jimmy will put us still on the stage there. Steve, we're here. We have a big show coming up on the tie-in presented by Elevate. Holly Fuller is joining you and Blair on Roof Talk with Blair Sutton. Plus, what property managers remember when the leak starts. Steve, what excites you most about what we're going on the show today? I'm excited to be here with you today, brother.
I'm excited as well. I think the thing that gets me the most excited about what we're doing today is our guest. We have one of the most respected, renowned leaders in the property management space here in Central Ohio that we are talking with today. And that is just incredible to me that we've got Holly Fuller on the stage.
I'm excited to meet Holly as well. Steve, when you put Holly up on stage earlier this week saying, hey, we're going to meet with Holly from CBRE, I'm like, I'm excited to meet with her coming up. And listen, you and I have been working on the show for a couple days this week, episode 2 of the tie-in. Excited, nervous. Where are you sitting at as we get into it today, pal?
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in between. This is a new experience for me. It's super fun. It's exciting, but it is somewhat on the fly, right? And, quick on the feet. So I'm here to have fun and have a great conversation today.
Well, you know what? And so last week, myself and John Kiesel, we started episode 1 of our brand new show called The Tie-In, and we know he's in Chicago at a conference. And I did get something. I got to show it to you here in a couple seconds. Jimmy, hang tight. But we got some video of Kiesel at the conference. Hector and Michelle, our very own members here on the tie-in, actually spotted him at the conference. So we're going to run that here in a quick second. We got somebody in the comments this morning. Good morning, Adam Holroyd, joining myself and Steve Reiss here on the tie-in. What property managers remember when stuff goes sideways. So Jimmy, let's throw this clip, my man. I got this clip from Kiesel. He sent me this clip, and guess what? Hector and Michelle, check this out, Steve. Jimmy, let's run this. Let's check this clip out.
Here we are at the NRCA summer meeting.
I hope John has us registered.
I'm looking forward to hearing how the NRCA tackles our need for workforce development.
Workforce is all you talk about, Hector.
Hector and Michelle checking up on John Kiesel out there in Chicago. Steve, when John goes to these conferences in Chicago, does anything get done, or is it just a bunch of handshaking and that? I see you smiling over there.
Do you mean at the conference or back here at the office?
Oh, is that the difference?
That could change, depending on who's around. No.
I love it. Well, let's keep the show going on the road. Good morning, good time. We got Charlie in the comments as well. We got Adam Holroyd in the comments as well. Steve, one of the things that we want to keep continuing to do on the show here is continue to be a leader in providing information of value and so forth. And we've got a segment we've called the Roofer's Desk, where we got Randy and Hector up on one of the big buildings in Columbus setting this up. We got 4 big stories. We're going to set them up. You're going to comment on them. Jimmy, let's run to the Roofer's Desk. So, Steve, first one up here today, Roofr, the free tier CRM that competes head-on with AccuLynx and Job Nimbus at 3 to 4 times the price. Hey, they just bought the top sponsor tier at the National Women in Roofing for 2026. I think Randy and Hector are going to set it up before you got something to say. Jimmy.
Roofr just bought Diamond sponsor status at National Women in Roofing. Free CRM tier, paid plans under $300 a month. Free software with a sponsorship banner. Sounds like every material rep who ever bought me lunch before pitching me something. It's not lunch, it's distribution. Beacon does it with contractor programs. G-App does it with certification. Roofr's doing it with software. Same play, new outfit. I've watched sponsors show up for the photo and vanish by spring. Maybe, but a free tier in a room full of buyers isn't charity. That's a warm lead machine. Ask me again in a year. Keith, Steve, run the distribution numbers.
So, Steve, what's this story all about, my friend?
Yeah, this one intrigued me because of, not only a newer CRM coming to the market boldly, but the sponsorship, the partnership with National Women in Roofing, NWIR, is something that we are also involved with. And so I love it when this collaboration starts to take place between, software companies and other, industry like organizations, I guess is the word I was looking for there. And so, the one thing, I see these CRMs all the time over at, every year when I attend the International Roofing Expo, and, I've seen all of these folks there. And when I saw the Roofr came out with this new free tier and whatnot, I was looking into it a little bit, and it looks like it is very prolific in terms of what it can do and all of that. And the thing that I'm excited to ask Roofr about Roofr is it suited for commercial contractors? Because a lot of times people will say, oh yeah, it's suited for commercial contractors. However, 80% of the attendees at the IRE are residential contractors. And so that's really the target a lot of times. And so you get these commercial contractors that are 30, 40, $80 million, and these CRMs can't do exactly what they need it to. And so I'm just excited to dive in a little bit further to this one, because it seems like they're combining some AI technology with what's traditionally been a CRM. And so if they've uncovered a diamond in the rough here, I'm really, really excited about it.
That's awesome. And Steve, when you share the news with me, again, I'm the outsider to the industry. I'm learning, I'm teaching, I'm being taught by Steve and John. Actually, we got John in the comments there. We get it all done. Good to see you, John. And we also got Ozzy or Dogan in the comments as well. But what struck me with the story, Steve, is it's clear to me, and I'm learning from you guys, but there's a software distribution war happening. Like it's like, who owns the roofing operating system, isn't it? And it seems like that might be more conversations we're having in the future. Am I wrong about that?
You're not wrong about that. Yeah, there is a race to own the industry, and between private equity and then private companies, there's a lot of things happening there. So it's an exciting time, but it's also it's a muddled time, because people are investing in software and they're hoping that it's the one that's going to win and not get overtaken by another one.
And I come from the world of tech, and that world is moving so fast. And to your point, you make a decision on a Friday, something changes on a Monday. It's like, oh my goodness, right? So anyways, we'll keep having that conversation about what's changing in the roofing operating system world. But hey, up next, number 2, the industry, Steve, just handed the top female of the year award to a contractor CEO from Nagaston, Connecticut. I'm sure I butchered that, who beat 4 finalists in a nationwide public vote. And QXO wrote the $10,000 check. Jimmy, let's let the video up.
Hey, Randy, you see this? Vanessa Fusco out of Connecticut just won North American Female Roofing Professional of the Year. 10 grand, trip to Vegas, nationwide public vote. Beat 4 other finalists, and QXO wrote the check. That's Beacon's parent company. Rejoice and Restore, that's her company. 6 years running this program. Real pipeline for women in this trade. 10 grand to Vanessa. Way more than that in impressions for QXO. Doesn't make either one less real. Real earned, real marketing, both true. Steve, Keith, tell us more.
Steve, what's up with this one?
So the thing that I love about this is that women are rising in the roofing industry. Again, it's the tie back to the National Women in Roofing, NWIR. And, one thing that struck me about, Vanessa Fusco is that she's in a cohort of contestants there. And one of the other contestants is actually in my FEI, Future Executives Institute program through the you know, NRCA. And so that caught my eye, and I was looking at the different contestants. So a lot of females are rising in this industry, and that it's typically been a male dominated industry. So I really love that the NRCA and the NWIR have taken an initiative to promote women, because, you know, why not? There's so many good strengths that women bring to the table. And if we continue to be in a, you know, a male dominated industry or whatever, it's like that needs to change, because we're better together than we are apart.
Well said. We are better together than we are apart. And Steve, the criteria for the program cites innovation, mentorship, safety, commitment to excellence. So congratulations to Vanessa Fusco, the CEO of Rejoice and Restore, for getting that award. All right, Jimmy, on to the next one here. The industry's most read magazine just called it. The fight to own the roofing contractor's daily workflow, we just teased it a couple minutes ago, Steve, is no longer between CRM companies. It's between distributors giving away free software and contractor operators launching their own operating systems. And whoever wins might win more than a subscription. Jimmy, run the clip.
Hector, roofing contractors July cover story. Distributors giving away free CRM, contractors selling their own operating systems. Whoever owns the workflow wins.
Made the cover, and the software companies who used to have this to themselves are just watching?
That's the real fight. The free CRM isn't a gift. It's a seat at your revenue table.
I've taken that free software before. Took my data with it when I finally walked.
That's exactly the risk. Own your workflow, own your business. Steve, Keith, pull up the full piece for us.
Steve, why is it so important to own the workflow?
So this is such a big issue right now. You know, when a contractor is deciding between CRMs, there's so many different facets to look at. And, you know, what's happening here is these partnerships between, like you said, distributors and the software company, making it easier to buy products from distribution, with a direct path to, you know, the contractor. It's really cool, but at the same time, it goes back to the previous conversation we were having a minute ago, where it's kind of a race to the bottom. Who can, you know, get the best software at the less price, right? At least expensive price, and get it into the hands of more contractors, because contractor density is what is going to help them win. The more people that adopt the software through making it easier, which is a great thing. But again, it goes back to who's going to win at the end of the day. And if you choose the wrong system, then you may be stuck in not a great situation.
Yeah, you're live with The Time with Keith Bilous and Steve Reiss, sponsored by Elevate. Coming up in a few moments, we got Holly Fuller joining us, and we got a Did You Know segment coming up as well. But first of all, we got one more story on the roofer's desk with Gary and Randy. A national commercial roofer, Steve, just took the guy that I hired 6 months ago to lead national accounts, promoted him again, and and fuse business development and marketing under one leader. The exact move mid-market commercial roofers keep saying that they make, and then they don't do it. What's this one all about, Jim?
Randy, DDP Roofing just promoted Joe Fairley, their national accounts guy. Business development and marketing now. Big deal? Huge deal. Most roofers keep those separate. DDPB just built one engine to actually hunt national accounts. Hired in December, running the whole department by May? That's fast for a guy who's barely unpacked his desk. Fast because it's working, or fast because something bigger's coming? Either way, REITs and property managers just got his attention. Every roofer says they want that account. Not many build the engine for it. Steve, Keith, break down what it takes.
So we'll cut right on this one, Steve.
So this struck a personal chord for me because I oversee all of our sales and marketing initiatives. And so, you know, when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome that this contractor is doing the exact same thing that we're doing. And you need alignment between sales and marketing. And so what happens is if you have those siloed functions, you know, they're so interconnected that it just ends up breaking the system. And so we don't want that to happen. We want to have streamlined, and it creates more work for, you know, the person in that seat, right? But I think it's worth the reward.
What caught me as well it was the combining of the roles. Now, and you said it caught your eye as well. Was it just was it the idea of combining two roles into one, which traditionally would have been singular roles? Is that what it was, Steve?
It was, yeah. So sales is the engine of a business, right? And marketing is what's going to get you out of obscurity.
Yeah.
And so you need the two to be in sync at all times in order to have the best ROI, the best outcome, the most success. So that's what it was for me.
Awesome. Coming up in a couple minutes, we got to Hollow Thor. Before we know that, though, Steve, did you know? I keep learning. You guys have been really grateful inviting me into your industry to help host this new experience we're offering. So I'm learning, and I'm the guy learning about the damage that little drops of water could do on a roof. Jimmy, let's run the first Did You Know segment, brought to you by Aptellos.
You know, more than 7 out of 10 construction lawsuits in this country come down to the same thing. Why? Water. Getting in somewhere nobody was watching.
It's never the leak that kills the job. It's the 6 months nobody knew it was there. Nobody asked when did it leak, they asked can you prove when it leaked. 2 different questions, only one of them holds up in a deposition.
This is what that 6 months used to look like. Now it looks like this. The roof didn't fail. The inspection did. Every flag on this screen has a timestamp. That's the difference between we think it started and we know.
There we go. Jimmy missed my edit, Steve. I made an edit to that video we missed yesterday, so apologies to my producer, Jimmy, on that one. Steve, so this was fascinating to me, that water, and this is kind of a theme on today's show, but water just lands in a corner and it accumulates over time. Teach me about this Did You Know segment, Steve Reiss.
So water infiltration into the roofing system, when a client buys a roof and it's inspected and it's warranted, it is deemed to be watertight. What can happen is weather patterns. You've got high winds coming in, maybe a tree branch falls, maybe you've got high winds, and then an HVAC door isn't secured as tightly as it should be, and so it rips off and blows across your roof. A property manager, if they're not checking on these things regularly, that's just going to be missed, like Hector said, like where no one was watching, right? And so if you don't have good technicians that are up on the roof, cleaning up debris from time to time and that sort of thing, you're just going to miss these holes in the system, and water's going to get in. And the crazy thing about it, Keith, is that water can be infiltrating your system for months before it ever drops into the building. Okay, and so that leak has occurred, but you don't know it yet because you can't see it. But the water's in the system, and so by the time water makes it into your building, it could have caused significant damage in the insulation package, to the membrane, and all of that.
It's almost like the rhetorical question, Steve, we could ask almost every business owner, and I say it in jest as the outsider. Did you know your roof is probably leaking? Right. And I say that in jest because if it's rained anytime, and as you said to me yesterday, if somebody was up on the roof and they might have dropped a screw or something happened on the roof, I was struck by, did you know your roof might be leaking? Because it might be leaking. Hey, Steve, like seriously, and we don't even know about it.
Right. And that's the battle that we fight with people sometimes, is like, no, I think I'm good. My roof isn't leaking right now. Well, I promise you, it probably is. You just don't know it yet.
The right now part is the killer, isn't it? Not right now, or maybe it is happening right now.
This segment brought to you by Elevate. 45 years making the systems we put on real buildings.
You want to keep learning what actually matters up here? Hit that subscribe button every week. Real roofing, no hype, no fluff, from guys who have done the work.
That is it from the field. Elevate has got the systems, you have got the roof. Keith, John, bring it home.
Of course, you got Keith and Steve here this morning. All right, Steve. All right. Coming up, before Blair introduces Holly Fuller to the show, I got to ask you, my friend, why don't you set up the why? Our second guest on the tie-in, you could not, it's Holly Fuller. Why do we bring Holly Fuller on the show here today?
So Holly and I have been buddies for years now in the BOMA, industry world of things. And I couldn't think of a better guest to bring on for our my first segment here, talking about sales, customer relationships. Holly has been leading teams for years now, and she leads one of the biggest property management teams in Central Ohio. And so, as a strong leader of an organization, and she's not shy about it either. She is constantly posting content about how she's doing this. And so I thought she would just have so much to add to this conversation today and really give us a great peek behind the curtain of how a property manager develops these relationships with service providers. So I'm excited to get into it.
And I'm super excited for Blair Sutton today with Keith and Steve live and Holly Fuller coming up next. Roof Talk with Blair Sutton. Jimmy, let's run the clip and let's get it started.
22 million square feet of Columbus sits under one person's watch. Most of the people inside it have never heard her name. 75 plus properties, 35 plus clients, 100 plus tenants, all in this one market. Holly Fuller oversees property management for CBRE across this market, guiding a team of 110 people who make it work. Her career didn't start with a plan. It started with one nudge and someone who saw something in her first. Holly applied for an apartment leasing role. Within months, she was one of the top agents in the region. Michigan, Florida, back home to Columbus. She managed retail centers across the Midwest as a single mom, then office buildings across the country, then 2 high-rise world headquarters for a Fortune 100 company. After 14 years in one role, she stepped away for 3 months to figure out what came next. That clarity led her to CBRE. There's no single right way to run a property. The right call depends on the owner's wants, even when vendor partners disagree. Today, Holly and Steve are digging into client to service provider relationships. Holly, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Tie-In.
All right, we're back with Steve, Keith, and Holly Fuller this morning on The Tie-In right here live on the Roofing Authority Network. Holly, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here today. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Holly, we didn't tell you this, but it's my job at this point to get out of the way because I want to sit back and I want to observe and I want to learn from an awesome conversation that I know you two are going to have. And then, Steve, I'm going to wander back in at some point in about 5 or 6 minutes or so because I got another what if. Like, what if something about the roof leaking stuff? So, Jimmy, get me out of here. I want to be entertained with a great conversation coming up between Holly and Steve.
All right. Holly, I'm so glad that you joined us today. We're going to get into an awesome conversation. You ready?
Ready.
All right. So let's talk about your story a little bit. You were a college student working 2 jobs when your boyfriend's sister, a regional property manager, pushed you to apply for a leasing role. She saw something in you before you even did. So what was going through your head when you said yes, and how fast did it stop feeling like just a job?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's be honest, right? You're 18. You don't know what the heck you're going to do. I was going to school for nursing, then business, and realized that nursing was not the right route for me. She just kind of saw something in me, right? I was working actually at a jewelry store, surprisingly enough, waiting tables, things like that. And she was just like, you have the best personality and, you're so outgoing and, we can teach you all the rest of it, really just come in and let's see what we can do with this. We think you'd be a great fit. And so when I did that and kind of went through it, I was like, okay, I could do this, right? You're really scared or taking a leap. Maybe this is going to be my next forever career. Maybe this is just a job and let's see what happens with it. Right. And so I leapt in, 2 feet first and just jumped and went for it. And it was interesting. I feel like what I noticed right off the bat was that I had a lot of the natural abilities, right? Like the detail oriented, those kind of little things that it felt so natural and everything just kind of fell in place. And so really, I just never really looked back. And so to me, I don't think it took long. I feel like it felt like I was home and right where I needed to be. Looking back, right, it's like almost 26 years later now. And it's like, I still love what I do. And, I continue to grow every day and push myself. So I love it. And it is truly, that one yes made the difference. Right. And that set my whole course for my life. So take a chance. You never
I
know.
love that. I love that. So something that you said that's very interesting. So you were talking about prerequisites. You said that, she saw the personality, among other things. Let's dive into that a little bit more. So when it comes to the prerequisites that she saw in you, right? You're a moldable, let's think about it like we're a piece of clay, right? And we're being molded through our lifetime into who we are today and who we're going to become, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were those? Dive in a little bit more to what those prerequisites were, that the underlying talents that you had that, through this first role kind of helped those emerge a little bit more.
Yeah, what's interesting, I think a big key component in this industry, right, is customer service first and foremost, and the detail oriented. So those were two things I said, right, and that those things are so key to everything that we do, like at the core, right, and then the just outgoing with that personality. We're a very fast-paced industry, and it's all about relationships and who you know and who you trust and, everything else, right? And so having those three things, I think, is really key, and honing into them is really what makes you thrive in what we do every day. I mean, that's really all we do, right?
Yeah.
So, whether we're facing issues or we're just communicating or we're talking bids or, whatever that case is, it all comes down to, that customer service piece of it, understanding that client, or understanding the ask. And then two, right, is that communication and that detail oriented of making sure that you're picking up on everything that, that we need. We're clarifying exactly what everything is. And so, yeah.
Customer service, communication, detail oriented. I love it. I think it makes so much sense. Let's move on to the next part of your story. So you moved from Michigan to Florida and back to Columbus, where a manager took you under her wing and taught you commercial property management.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, so this is the next stage, right? What did she see in you? And what is the one thing she taught you that you still use today?
So I think for me, it was probably the fact that I was willing to learn, right? And I was just a total sponge. I'm one that I ask a ton of questions. I'm curious. I get in there, right? I want to learn. If there was a vendor, it was let me follow you and ask you a bunch of questions while you're doing something, right? All of that it just feeds you with more and more knowledge, and I think arms you to make you be a better manager. And I think too, just being a go-getter in that sense that, I'm a self-starter, and I think that was pretty apparent that, nothing was going to, really hold me back, and I was going to jump in and, I'm not going to sit there and wait to be told, what I need to do. I'm just going to figure it out or ask those questions and learn, right? And just dig in. And I think, you had asked like what maybe the one big thing that she had taught me that I still use today. And I think it's so critical in this industry too. And I hear it a lot, even from vendors as well, but just how to write a good like RFP and scope, right? And be extremely clear and extremely forward and just like detailed on it, right? Of exactly what you're looking for, like giving everybody all the same information of what that is. And making sure, because in that way you actually do get true numbers back. You're getting good things back that you can compare them, right? Apples to apples. I feel like you see it too often that, everybody's too vague or moving too fast, and they just like blanketly throw something out there and say, give me a bid on this. But there's 20 other things in there that you need to make sure that you're covering to make sure that you're getting an actual good scope. So that's one thing that, she instilled in me right off the bat. I still to this day remember that, that she walked me through it on how to write a really good bid and a scope document for it. So
Yep.
I appreciate her for that. And I'm sure others have along the way too, with working with me. So yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. It is music to my ears to hear, a property management professional talking about how important it is to have clear apples to apples scopes. I mean, I think we could probably do a whole nother show on, what happens when you don't get clear scopes of work from property management or from a consultant, and you're just left, you're left wondering what is in the details here, and we know what's in the details. The devil's in the details, right? And so it doesn't do anyone a favor when we have unclear scopes of work. It doesn't do the client a favor, doesn't do us a favor. I mean, then we're just out of communication. We're having miscommunication, right? And that is not what we want. We want to have clear communication. So I so appreciate you for saying that. And so a theme that kind of ties that last question up was, you mentioned being teachable, being a sponge. And so I just want to kind of cement that point home to anyone listening today, is that, being teachable is such a key aspect in our roles as service providers and property managers. So let's, encourage the listeners to embrace being teachable.
Yep. I love it.
So you managed retail centers across the Midwest as a single mom, and then office buildings nationally, then 2 high-rise headquarters for a Fortune 100 company. What changed about the job and about you at each step?
Excuse me. So I think for me, like really each one of those roles or each one of those jobs really stretched me in a different way, right? I got to use different skills kind of at each one. And I think you built on those as I continued to move around and do different aspects of things. I think real quick, you learn efficiencies and organizational skills, because we're moving so fast paced. There's a lot of different things. You're, doing whatever, 200 properties at once, at the one point when I was doing it, it's a lot. And so you learn really quick as far as getting really good and really honed in on those organizational and efficiencies, right, of what you're doing. And then communication, and making sure that you're communicating clearly with everything and that you're keeping it all straight. And everybody's all on that same page across the board with, everything that you have going. I think too, that as I continued to progress there, and leading into, when I was managing the headquarters, leadership skills really come into play there with that, because you have to take the reins, right? You have to own it and command the room, if you will, of what's going on. When you have that many contractors doing that much work, you have that many maintenance guys doing so much work, right? You have all the clients on site, you have just all the different partnerships and things moving, and a lot of new moving parts. And so I think having that skill to really be able to take on a lot, handle a lot, command it of what it is, and take that leadership to make sure that, again, like you're kind of your running point on all of it, and making sure that everyone's following in that same direction and everyone's really clear on what that direction is. So that really set me out on a huge path. I think that's really made me successful in this role that I'm in now, because, it teaches you, right, that there's all those different skills and those different styles along the way with everyone that you're working with, no matter who it is, right? From the janitor on up to the CEO, it doesn't really matter. But you have to wear a lot of different hats, and how your communication skills are with that. And you need to be clear on it of setting what those boundaries are and those expectations.
You're hanging out live with Keith Bilous, Holly Fuller, and Steve Reiss this morning on The Tie-In, a brand new show here on the Roofing Authority Network. And we've been talking about roof leaks. We're talking about customer service. But guys, what if you never inspected the roof?
By the time you see it, by the time you see it, it's already been there 6 months.
The water didn't start here. It started 40 feet away, traveled a seam, waited.
What if you could see the leak before the ceiling saw it?
Optelos scans the substrate, reads the moisture, sends the map. 6 weeks before the tile turns brown.
Section 12.
Membrane seam. Next Tuesday.
Nothing critical.
Nothing critical.
Dry.
The Tie-In, presented by Optelos.
So Steve, maybe I can jump in and ask Holly a question here. Holly, how common, just curiously as the outsider, how common does this happen?
Roof leaks? Non-stop.
Well, and I'm even thinking about the scene of the fellow walking down the hallway and looking up, and I got to think, oh, not another one, not another one, not another one. Is it like that? Not another one? Is that like the morning is like, oh, I got another one, Holly?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think as a property manager, we cringe, right, every time it rains. You guys probably are clapping and ready for it. I'm super excited. But we cringe, right? Because that just means that that's probably more work. It's more phone calls we got to make. It's, more damage control, right? It's a lot of more communication we got to do. And it just adds to that to-do list for the day. But, we do see them. And honestly, having a good partner at your side is critical for that, right? So that we know that we can call them. We know they're going to come out. We know they're going to fix it right. And find out what's happening and have our back in those kind of situations. So having a good partnership for your roofing vendor is critical for sure.
Well, that's awesome. And, I'm so glad that, we can be that resource for you in so many ways and, be someone that's easy to work with. Right. And so we're going to get into this client to service provider relationship a little bit deeper here. So Holly, you oversee 22 million plus square feet, 75 plus properties, 35 plus clients, and a team of 110, juggling dozens of service provider relationships at once. What actually makes a partnership between a property manager and a service provider work from day one?
So I think one of the big things for me, and this is just my own personal philosophy, I know some managers do it a little different, but I think, you need to have a strong partnership with them, right? In the thought that I don't like to change vendors constantly. Like, I just don't think that there's any value in it. I think if you have a good partner, you're working with them, you're, massaging what it needs, right? You have clear communication, you set those expectations, you start to learn each other. And you really do kind of lay that groundwork from day one. And I think a lot of it starts, again, going back to just whether it's that RFP, whether it's that first call, whether it's that first kind of conversation that you're having, whatever that case might be, but just making sure that you're both on that same page and that you're working with each other. Because, we rely so heavily on vendors. You're the backbone of our industry, and so without you, we can't do our jobs. So it's, we really rely on you. And so having that partnership and understanding together, I think is critical from right off the bat. And knowing, what I need, what you need, whatever, right? And working between that. So.
Right. So let's dive into that just a little bit deeper. You said clear communication and expectations set right from the beginning.
Mhm.
So, in the ideal scenario, I guess, what would that look like, right? Like, let's imagine we're back to day one and, Holly Fuller says, yeah, Steve, I'd love for you to come out and assess, our leaks. Here's 5 buildings. I need inspections. What would make it a success from day one? Like, what does that getting on the same page and clear communication really look like? Is it a meeting to discuss, here's all of the things that we do and here's exactly how you're going to do things? Or I guess, how does that look to you? What is the ideal way in your eyes that you see this onboarding, if for lack of a better term?
Yeah. So I know it takes a lot of extra time, right? We're busy, we're moving, we're going in 10 directions, but truly, I think taking that time out of your schedule to walk it together, right? Be there in person, truly look at it together, pinpoint things, look at it, talk through history, talk what's been done before, talk what those pain points are, ask the questions, right? How are you going to handle this? What are you going to do about that? What happens if this happens, right? Having all of those kind of conversations, right? If we do this, what's the domino, right? Or if we don't do that, right, then what's this? I think just setting it off and having that really that talk, I guess, right, in person makes all the difference versus if I were to just shoot you off a quick email and say, go figure it out, right? And do this. And then it's just kind of like, we really haven't built anything. And I don't feel like we're really on the same page of what's happening. And, you mentioned something earlier, and I think it's so true, right? That I feel like that gap right there is that missing part. And if we're not in it together and actually like in that partnership and talking from day one and looking at things together of what it is, I think we're going to have miscommunication. We're going to have gaps, right? And
Every roof.
to have these onboarding conversations.
Absolutely.
Every roof you look up at started down here. Racks, pallets, paperwork, long before the crew ever gets to it.
The tie-in doesn't just cover the crew, it covers the trade. Warehouse to weld, spec to seam. Subscribe.
Segment 3, Keith, Holly, and Steve on the tie-in live this morning on the Roofing Authority Network. Steve, we're wrapping up with Holly this morning. Let's get into some meaning, legacy, and the open industry problem as we're working up on debriefing on the last 15 minutes with you guys. Steve, let me throw it to you to wrap up with Holly here. Where do you want to start with the first closing question with Holly, Steve?
See, where do we want to go? Let's talk about, the mentor that invested in Holly. I think that would be incredible. Holly, you had a mentor that invested in you and in hopes that you would do the same for someone else. So leading a team of 110 across property management, admin, engineering, operations, mobile tech, how do you actually guide a team of that size to success?
Very carefully. I think one of the big things for me is that you got to get to know your people, right? And understand what makes them tick, get to know them as a person, as a human, as, what their family lives are like, things like that. Frequent check-ins, I think standard, frequent meetings that we have, making sure that everybody's hearing everything all at the same time, right? Same message, same page, clear communication, like we've talked a lot about. And really just clear expectations of kind of what we're looking for, right? Setting that vision, setting that strategy, and making sure that we're all moving on that same track. I think too, like one of the big things is creating the relationships across the board, to make sure that they have resources, whether that's amongst their peer sets, or cross lines, different buildings, different, kind of aspects, whatever, that they can lean on each other, lean on different experiences, with somebody that's speaking that same language of kind of what their roles are. So really creating that space and that environment, that culture, to make sure that they have what they need to be successful and succeed in what their roles are, I think is just key. And then I think another piece of it would be, just really promoting and encouraging a lot of that professional development. So, we do a lot of different functions where, we invite different vendors in, right? And we do these lunch and learns where it's, teach us about a roof, teach us about the roofing membranes, how to fix stuff, what to look for, what's key, what's, these different types, whatever, and educate us, right? It's those types of things that I think these guys really appreciate. And you do have folks that are at every stage of their career. And so I think just creating that space, that's that open environment that people can still maybe take another nugget of something, or you have those fresh minds that are just looking to explore, and that's really going to spark those questions, right? It's going to start firing off those cells. So I think those are all the kind of key things for sure, though, like frequent check-ins and just kind of those mental stands, right? Like, where are you? How you feeling? How can I support you? What do you need from me? Kind of a thing. How do I remove roadblocks from you so you can get your work done?
Yeah, when you were talking about that, my mind was going to, as a leader, bringing the human element back into the picture, because it's so easy as leaders to be busy, bogged down. We have so many initiatives. We're setting vision, setting strategy, and we can lose that human element with our people, and then thereby lose trust if we're not careful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say one big key point too that I've learned along the way, and many great leaders that I've had in years past as well have always done this, right? No matter how busy I am, I will stop what I'm doing, right? I will stop what I'm doing, stop my emails, stop the project I'm working on, turn and physically face that person and talk with them, right? And dedicate that time. I'm never too busy for my person. And that's what I think that, for leaders, that's key. I mean, if I could pass that on to all of them, because your people feel that.
I'm never too busy for my person. The quote of the day, Steve Reiss, from our guest, Holly Fuller. That's a great quote, Holly. We got to have that one framed. So Steve, I'm gonna call an audible here and perhaps throw a question out to both of you. The last question, which is the maintenance trade staffing shortage for both of you guys. And maybe we'll start with Holly, right? Postings draw weak candidates, high no-shows, pay expectations above market, and workers pulled towards data centers and the big developments around, your backyard of Columbus. Holly, starting with you. So in your opinion, what's it going to take to actually fix these challenges today?
Really, we got to get young people into this industry, right? We got to get them excited about the trades. I think for so long it was beat into their head, right? That like the trades are bad. The trades were for the bad kids that couldn't make the grades. And that's where they ended up because they couldn't cut it in college. And only the college people were getting the good jobs. Well, I've got news for you, right? These jobs are 6 figures a lot of times, right? Of like where you're getting to on some of this stuff for trades, and it's crazy. And it's good, honest work, and it's stuff that you can take long into the future, and into your personal life, everything else. And so, for me, I think it's trying to get kids excited again for it, and getting into those trade schools, getting into the high schools, those community colleges, things like that, and really trying to pull kids out of that, and then just mentor, right? And treat it as this is an excellent career to get into. We need it desperately. And you've got to start somewhere and work your way up. And there's a lot of us out here that will really provide that safe landing spot for them and teach them. I mean, we have a ton of resources here at CBRE that we dedicate towards our maintenance technicians to help them grow, to learn, to teach, hours and hours and hours of hands-on type of training that we can provide. And I know, a lot of other, vendors and whatnot around Columbus have those same type of approaches too, which I love. And so, the support's out there. We just got to get them interested and get them in working.
Yeah. Steve, what about you? Same question.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback right off of Holly. That was a fascinating answer. And I wholeheartedly agree. It's all about getting young people into the skilled trades. And so something that the NRCA is doing to, on that front would be they have a program, and it's not NRCA specific, but there's a program called Skills USA, where it is a program where kids compete on a national level from these trade schools all across the board. Doesn't matter what trade. If there's a trade school program from cosmetology to engineering to now roofing. And so we've been on the leading edge of Skills USA, helping the NRCA for the last handful of years with that program and going to the competition that is held in Georgia on an annual basis. And so that's been one way that we've been able to contribute. And not only that, but I would say even right now, like what can I do right now? And I think this is something that we put in place just a couple years ago, is a training program to get the apprentices that are coming into our organization trained up to be a foreman in about 6 months' time. And so we've got a dedicated trainer that is going through the roofing curriculum with these new hires and being able to get them into being from a non-skilled position to a skilled position, which means more money for that individual as well. And so they can support their families and really build a career in the roofing industry, not just a job.
Yeah. Coming up above the line, we're celebrating somebody. You want to stick around for that in about 2 minutes, but we are wrapping up with Holly Fuller. Holly, we're at the end. Can you believe we're at the end of our experience together? Steve, how do we want to wrap up with Holly and walk her out of the lab this morning on the tie-in? Holly, thoughts from you, some closing words from you this morning, Holly?
I think just for me, I would say one, just thank you for including me on today's show. I think this is fantastic. And, again, we love our partnership with Division 7. You guys do a fantastic job for us, and, just appreciate your friendship, Steve. But, truly building that relationship and building that rapport with your vendors are just critical. You got to trust each other, and you got to be on the same team, and you got to really partner and do what you got to do, but you fight for each other as part of it, right? You're in it together. And I think you look at it as that. So, invest in your partnership, and it'll invest right back. So, yep, I love it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And Holly, thank you so much for accepting the invitation I threw out to you late last week, even on short notice. Really glad that we got to have this conversation. And I see this as the next step forward in that trust building of this relationship, right? And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for us.
Absolutely.
Holly Fuller, where can folks find you, connect with you? Take a quick moment to plug yourself, plug where folks can connect with you along the way outside of the show. Holly, please.
Yeah, so you can find me out on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. I definitely encourage you to follow me and connect with me out there. As Steve mentioned, I do post a ton of content out there, and you get to see all the kind of great things that we're doing. Maybe some tips and tricks that you can take back with your own teams and try and implement. But yeah.
Awesome. We got some comments from the community, Holly. Before you leave, we got Mike is making stuff, says contracting, even 1099 is some of the most honest business interactions at their root. Nothing gets assured, and there's real value in that. So we got some engagement from the community. Thanks, Mike, for joining us this morning. Holly, once again, thanks for hanging out with us today. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, all right, Steve, let's go above the line, my friend. Jimmy, let's run the clip. I'm excited about this one.
Let's do it.
Some men spend a whole career defending the defenseless, protecting the innocent, no matter what the job title says. This is Above the Line, brought to you by Elevate, the segment where we point the camera at people who go beyond the job. State trooper first. Then he traded the badge for something bigger. Same guy, same instinct. New calling. His name is Aaron Quinn, multi-area director, Central Ohio, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Before the scholarship, before the scoreboard, FCA gets there first. Real coaches, real players, talking about what actually got them through. Years later, his players tracked him down just to say they'd tried to be the father he was to them. That's the job right there. That's proof of a human who practices what they preach. In Aaron's own words, I strive to give God the glory due him for the abilities and opportunities he has given me. That's above the line. Some jobs you clock out of, some you never do.
Our brand new segment, Above the Line. And last week we put Jill Bloom above the line. Today we put Aaron Quinn above the line, and he sent some words last night. He was quite taken aback. Why are we celebrating Aaron Quinn today? Steve Reiss.
Aaron Quinn is an incredible leader in our community. And his story from being a police officer to where God has called him to today to lead the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Central Ohio, it's a high honor. And I know that if Aaron was sitting here with us right now, he would say that it's not me. It's not because I'm a great person. It's not because I have all these talents and treasures or whatever, which, by the way, he does. He would say that it is God that has elevated him to this position because he has great character, and that he's followed the Lord faithfully for years and years and years. And this is, a scripture that comes to mind is First Peter, where he says, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and he will lift you up in due time. And I bet that's a key verse that Aaron has in the back of his mind on a daily basis.
I love that you say that and you associate with Aaron, because you're thinking as you read that scripture and think about it, you're thinking of him. And that's fascinating to me, because you're thinking this applies to this man, this character of this fellow. That's exactly what you're saying, isn't it, Steve?
It absolutely is. And that's the fascinating thing about scripture is that, when we follow it, we realize that it is true. It's like, man, this is so cool that it's playing out the way that God said it would thousands of years ago when this Bible was written, right?
Yeah.
And another reason we want to celebrate Aaron is because, we sit on the board together, right? He leads the board, and I am a fellow member on the board here, the advisory board. Next board meeting is tomorrow morning, and so it'll be really fun to debrief with him tomorrow at that meeting. And it's a nod to our core values, right? I mean, the core values Division 7's put in place, we've put in place as a leadership team. It spells faith, forward-thinking, ambitious, inspiring, teachable, and honest. And we just want artifacts of that faith everywhere around us to remind us that we're not here because we're great. We're here because God has elevated us.
As I'm getting to know the company, as I'm getting to know all of you, I'm thoroughly invested in that perspective, the idea of faith and what it means to all of you. And I love how that it is a core value of Division 7 and what you guys are doing. And it keeps you centered, doesn't it, Steve? Like, it keeps everybody centered, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
You know what I like to say, and I don't just like to say it, but I believe it's true that it's our faith that keeps us operating with integrity.
She just described my whole Tuesday.
She's not wrong. Winning a client like that's the easy part. Holding on to one for 5 years without a hiccup, that's the hard part.
So what actually closes that trust gap on day one?
Time. Same thing it's always been.
Someone saw it in her before she saw it in herself. Sound familiar?
Don't start, Randy.
Let's see what Keith and Steve make of it.
Let's go.
Before we get to the main topic today, the time, let's take a couple seconds, just wrap up with our segment with Holly here a little bit this morning. What a great conversation you two had. What stuck out from your conversation with Holly today?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fascinating conversation with an incredible person. And I think one of the main things that stuck out was she was along the way talking about this growth process and how, as we grow, it's almost like, what was coming to my mind was like a flywheel. And the flywheel in the beginning, it's moving slow, it's clunky, we're learning, it's so difficult, but we're being teachable, right? She also mentioned that we're being teachable along the way. But as we grow and as we become more familiar with the responsibilities that we have at any specific point in time, that as we get handed new responsibilities, we are called upon by our organization to grow more, and for that flywheel to have to move faster, and it spins faster and faster, and then more gets added on, and now you're running a team of 110, and it's like this, and you've grown along the way, and you've developed the skills to be able to handle that type of role. So that was kind of where my mind was at by the end of that conversation.
Yeah, what stuck to me is all the hallways she walks down throughout her every single day and wonder, I don't want to look up. I just don't want to look up because they're right. Because of
no doubt.
I'm thinking, right?
No doubt. I mean, and we talked about that a little bit, where it's like, as a leader, you're so bogged down. You can be so bogged down in, all these responsibilities and whatnot. But then, and you don't want to look up. You're like, oh my goodness, someone might require something of me. And it's like, it's a scary feeling sometimes because we're getting pulled in so many different directions as leaders. But, there is some wisdom in guarding some amount of time. But I really appreciated the fact that she said that she was going to stop anything she was doing and engage with another human. And that's something that honestly, I can learn from and get better at myself.
I took that away as well. And for leaders, what she dropped there might have been one of the greatest awareness spots of the show today, because just we're all being pulled in so many directions. Clearly, if somebody walks up to Holly and taps on her shoulder, she's like, all right, boom. And she gives them all like that, right? That's leadership, Steve Reiss, right there, right? Stopping everything. So, all right, let's keep the show on the road, my friend. Let's get into our main topic as we're rocking and rolling this morning live with Keith and Steve on What Property Managers Remember on the Tie-In Live presented by Elevate.
Holly Fuller says the bid doesn't win the account. The leak call does. That's the account, Hector. Recurring revenue starts on the worst call you get, not the best pitch you give. Anybody can pitch partnership dry. Show me who's still standing there wet. We'll take a look. Loses the account. We're on our way. Here's what happens next. Keeps it.
Photos, timestamps, cause versus symptom. Documented in the moment beats Hector's memory every time.
Ha. Get it in writing before you forget it yourself. Let's get into what property managers remember when the leak starts. Steve, you're up.
Hey, Steve, so I want to put a question to you, my friend. So when a property manager calls with water in the building, what are they actually testing in the first 5 minutes? Because I don't think it's the water problem, is it, my friend?
I don't think so. I think they're probably testing if you care or not.
Oh,
Do you care?
yeah.
Right? Because if you care, you are going to do everything that you can in that moment to solve that problem and get there as quickly as humanly possible. So I think it's the care component that they're really trying to test, and you can gauge that in someone's tone and someone's demeanor, as when they call me, "Hey, Steve, got this. I'm on it. I'm on my way right now." Like, you know.
It's funny because when you said that, I got goosebumps, because that might actually be, other than Holly's quote, there might not even be nothing else more to say when you think about it, right? Because when the world is collapsing, pardon the metaphor, I just want you to care if I make the phone call. And those first few seconds of your voice, the way you respond, your intonation, whether you pause, I'm micro reading you right now because I'm panicking. And Steve's like, if you just flippantly kind of go, huh? I'm like, oh, really? That's all. That's all right there, isn't it, Steve? Right there. It's decided in that second.
It is. And so that's, I think, part of the difference between a mega corporation, where they've got, maybe weak culture, maybe people in that organization are just, trying to get their commission check or whatever. That's the difference between that type of organization and maybe a little bit of a smaller outfit, a family-owned operation that still has capacity to handle operations, but but more than that, a company that has good character and strong values are going to have the right people in the right seat, and so then those people are going to care more than, I'm just here to get a paycheck, man.
Absolutely. Hey, so just curiously, has there been, maybe there's a segment coming up. What's the version of, I wonder what some of the non-caring scenarios have been. Have you been around some of those where somebody's called you and said, hey, Steve, I called somebody and they didn't really care. Can you guys help me out? You've been around those?
Yeah. And in that situation, it is in the form of, I called them, they said they were going to be there, but they never showed up.
What?
They never showed up. And that's my reaction, Keith, is, what? Are you serious? Like, they must not want your business, in that they'll never get a call back. And so that story plays out time and time again here, week after week, to be honest with you. I mean, as in our sales efforts, we're talking with hundreds of people a week, and so many stories go that way. Like, yep, I called this other contractor, they never showed up, or yeah, they showed up, but yeah, they didn't do great work. I mean, it continues to leak time and time and time again. And don't get me wrong, roofs can be tricky, so I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but sometimes it does take a different perspective and looking at things from a different way, or maybe that company wasn't quite experienced with that type of roof system, and so then they call the experts in.
So I know when I brought you into this part of the conversation, my younger friend, I think I'm a little bit older than you, my friend, who I said, let's get into the history of roofing. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're going to go into the olden days, Steve Reiss. So I have something on the screen for us. And you and I were giggling about this yesterday, which was, we got a handwritten billhead document. And this comes from our friend John Kenny at the History of Roofing. Jimmy, put it on the screen here. And I said to you, Steve, how many folks today are ordering tin? What was it, Steve? Tin, slate, nails, and cement on.
Yeah.
You were like, Keith, nobody's ordering tin in 2026.
I don't think so. Unless there's some people out there doing things that I'm not aware of, then yeah, definitely not us.
Yeah. It's fascinating to look back in the past, though, isn't it? To look to the future, right? And I got to think, you've been I met you a couple weeks back on the record, and I've gotten to know your story, part of the family business. Man, when you look at the history, sometimes probably even looking at old pictures, to look at where we've come from to the future, you have to look to the past to look to the future, don't we, Steve?
I believe so. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. How are we going to learn how to do things better if we don't see what failed in the past?
Yeah. And what strikes me here is that the tools change. because to those that have been in the industry forever, the tools change nonstop, but the responsibility doesn't, right? It's still the same responsibility at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. For folks roofing back in 1900, right? I mean, there was that flywheel concept that has always existed. It's just with a different set of tools and materials, right?
Yeah. It's funny, guys, because when Keith and Steve were preparing the show yesterday, we were talking about, I said, so Steve, when did roofing become safe? He's like, well, Keith, look at the picture of the dudes sitting on the steel beams building the big towers in some of the big cities around America. They're just sitting out there. And we both were kind of wondering, did it take somebody having to fall before somebody's like, yeah, I guess we should put some safety into place? So it's fascinating, actually, when it comes down to the history of roofing and so forth. So, all right, Keith and Steve, live here on the tie-in, my friend. Can you believe we are at an hour and we're working towards wrapping up here today? But before we do that, we are going to do this little thing that's called this. I'd like to have you join us. We're managing the roofing industry. Myself, Steve, and Ryan here on the tie-in live on the Roofing Authority Network. You guys are invited. We're building a community. We're building a network. We're building some great content along the way. Steve, it's been your first hour in the show with us, second episode. Can you believe it's almost over? How did it go for you, my friend?
I can't believe it's almost over. I feel like we just begun. You know what I mean? It's been really fun. I'm grateful to be in a position where I can do this and have an awesome guest like Holly come on and get to talk with you, Keith. You're an entertaining guy, and it's super fun just getting to chop it up with you about roofing stuff, and I'm sure we could chop it up about a ton of different things too.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. And, as I said to John last week, and everybody's going to get tired of me saying this, but I want to take a second just to really personally thank you and the team at the Division 7. I'm new to your industry. I'm being gracefully and gratefully welcomed in, and I'm got nothing but gratitude. I'm learning. After we talked yesterday, I kind of sat back and scratched my head and looked at my ceiling. I know that I live in a residence, but then we went downtown. I'm looking at all the buildings in downtown in the city, and I'm looking at up, and I'm thinking about some of the things you're teaching me, and it's fascinating to me, man. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. So, guys, I hope you'll come back every single week. We got this show happening live. Myself and Ryan Ryan resides, right? Ryan resides is how you say it there, right? Yeah, Ryan's next week. Yep. But let's work towards wrapping it up today. Some highlights for you before we say goodbye.
I mean, once again, I can't reiterate enough how grateful I am that Holly was able to join us today.
Yeah.
Her, reiterating that, being teachable is one of the most important things you can do for your career is something that I'm going to take to heart, and it's a core value that we have. So I try to live that out every single day, and just being curious about things that we don't know. And then, she's so human, and it's very refreshing, right? She's personal, relatable, and it's just someone that you want to engage with and talk with and be close with. And that's something that I think we could all take a little bit more to heart in this day and age, specifically because we're just running around like chickens with our heads cut off, busy, stressed. And so if we can just take a minute and just relax and be human with someone when they walk into our office, I think that can go a long way.
Steve, Holly has no idea I'm tapping on her shoulder later so she can stop everything to coach me. So I'm like, hey, Holly. Do.
Yeah.
You don't leave this trade at the site. It comes home with you. Every seam, every callback, every crew you couldn't save.
The tie-in shows the trade with the shift boots still on. Follow the whole story. Subscribe.
Breaking news, a severe storm.
Sector 4 is taking on water. Membrane is breached.
Deploy the Defender.
We don't just build roofs, we hold the line. We protect your business.
Steve, we're wrapping it up, my friend. I'm adding a little bit of music here to the outros. We walk our way out of here. Steve, thanks for hosting with me, man. It was fun. I enjoyed it with you.
Yeah, I likewise, Keith. It's been a pleasure, and I hope we get to do it again sometime very soon, and I know we will.
100%, my friend. We are just getting started, and maybe you and Ryan and John will be arm wrestling for weekly situations, or I'll be going, guys, let's do this every single day, because because something Holly said that really stands out at me too, and I think you and I even talked on the side too. We need more younger folks in this industry, right? So if we can create content or create the kind of energy that might bring some dudes and dudettes to say, hey, I want to be a part of that energy. I want to be part of that experience. Come hang out with us. Come hang out with the gang at the Division 7, because we're trying to create a brand new experience that is rooted in perhaps, Steve, the next 50 years instead of the last 50 years, live every single Thursday with myself, Steve, John, and Ryan on the tie-in and the guests along the way. I got a clip here. I don't know what it's going to say. It's not going to, let's just see what happens. That's right. When I press the button and I undo it, I don't talk. I talk, but you can't hear me. The power of live. So, Steve, let's do this again. We're getting out of here, my friend. What do you got going on today as we get out of here, brother?
Well, my mind can't get off of something you said just a second ago. So you said that me, John, and Ryan might be arm wrestling for spots on the show. Well, I would love, based on the commercial we just saw a minute ago, I don't know if they're going to stand a chance against the Defender.
Against the Defender, right? Yes, absolutely. Dude, that was fun when we put that together. So to those of you that don't know, I was meeting with Ryan, Steve, and John, and Ryan was like, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? And next thing you know, we got Ryan as the Defender, and he's out defending Division 7. Hey, that's pretty cool. Hey, we got some questions coming up in the comments before we say goodbye, my friend. Oh, B-Drive Equipment. We got Bernard, one of the folks, Steve, that hangs out on my morning show. Bernard's here hanging out with us saying good morning. We got Mike is making stuff saying, I adore the opportunity that my sons have ahead of them. My 16-year-old has already certified as a welder. There we go, brother. There we go. I love that too, man. That's awesome, Mike, that you got your boy doing that. And
get him in the Skills USA competition.
There you go. How can you do that? How can you do that? How can you do that?
So look up Skills USA, and if your trade school is a part of that, if you have, you're a part of a career center or whatever, just one, ask the trade school if they're a part of Skills USA. Two, go to skillsusa.com, I think it is, and see if you can, if they're not a part of it, try to get them registered. I don't know what all that takes, but there's a little bit of a process there, but it's something that all trade schools should be a part of.
Awesome. Bernard's there. We got Mike is making stuff. You may have the Defender spot is an absolute banger. Oh, Steve, we actually got Ryan in the comments here. Do we want to address Ryan in the comments, or do we just want to ignore Ryan's comment? Or
what's Ryan chatting about? What's Ryan chatting this about?
Oh, Ryan's talking about arm wrestling, Steve. So he's like, arm wrestling, it's on, he says. And
good luck, my friend.
Mike says, Skills USA, sick. I'm on it. He is so proud of his certs. Oh, that's awesome. He's proud of his certifications. I love that. And great advice from Bernard as well, which is fantastic. And Steve, I got to say honest, I got to say this out loud. Thanks to all the crew that hangs out with me in the morning show. They all joined us today. And I can tell you, these guys that are here with us right now are cut from the same cloth that we are. So I'm really glad that they're here. Mike is here. Bernard is here. So thank you guys for joining us. And I guess, Ryan, thanks for joining us too. On behalf of Steve, Holly, and the entire gang this morning, I'm the host. I'm Keith Bilous. We'll see you guys next Thursday right here live with myself and Ryan on the tie-in. And, of course, the following week, we got John, and then we're back with Keith and Steve. And along the way, maybe we're all going to get after it. So have a great one, guys. Steve, we'll talk later, pal.
Have a great day.
Awesome.